Ladies and gentlemen, we have tonight the very one that we want to talk about more than anything else right now. It's more than Kimiana Jones Bay. When I tell you she's a serial entrepreneur, I mean serial entrepreneur. She has over 25 years in leading in the beauty, real estate, and retail industries. She is a real estate investor. I call her real estate mogul because she does not play. She goes in, she conquers, and she is truly a legacy builder. Kamiana Jones Bay was born for entrepreneurship from a very young age, molded to win with 20 years of plant warehouse management and distribution, corporate and retail store management, overseeing 25 plus retail corporate store locations. And when I tell you she is truly a trailblazer, as one of our attendees last year at the Legacy Conference, she is on a mission and a rampage to make everyone else's life around her different. Welcome once again, Miss Kimiana Bay.
Hey. That's an amazing intro. Thank you so much.
My honest pleasure, my pleasure. When I tell you that I look back over everything that you and I have talked about for so long, it makes me look back and say, you are one of my biggest supporters for the Legacy Conference. You've always been there.
Yes. Woo. Yes, I believe in it so much.
Now, I have one of your little slides up here. It says, you are the owner and founder of Private Label Queens. Tell us more about that.
Well, you know, women, we run the world. We run the world. We run the world. So I love Private Label Queens. It was really inspired because the pandemic, honestly. It was born because of the pandemic. And that's why I say whenever you never know, and you want to always capitalize on every opportunity that comes your way. But in order to do that, you got to keep your eyes always open, and you got to know what your purpose is. And once we find out what our purpose is, things will start falling in our laps. And so I say that that Private Label Queens was born in an effort to help the underdog, and in an effort to help people to get their businesses open. About 2 years ago, I went and embarked on a new venture to open a tea company, with Tea Pleaser, and it went really well. But I was very wrapped up in real estate, so the real estate took like all of my time. Well, guess what? February happened, and Corona came in, and I was in vacation rental business. So guess what? All travel came to a halt. So there was no traveling. None of my homes, my vacation rentals were getting booked. Then it followed up with, I'm in the salon suite business. So I salon suites, and guess what? Miami-Dade shut us down. So I found myself in a situation in February where I had built all of this, business, and no income. Not $1 coming in. It just all stopped. When I tell you stopped, but I said, wait a minute. God is great, because I always have a little, what they say, pull the ace out your back pocket. I always have that. And I always believe in having a plan B. I live that way. I always live that way. And I thank God for that, for giving me that guidance. I give it all to him. And so basically how Private Label Queens was born is I had started Tea Pleaser back in April. I went visit, and this was April of 2019. I visited a tea company because I'm like, I made it a plan because we were going to New York, and this tea company is near there. So I'm like, let me go and check it out. Did a tour, fell in love with the company. They fell in love with me, and we made like a little partnership, and thus Tea Pleaser was born. So I started developing like holistic teas to help with healing. And because we can heal ourselves. And you know what? It's ironic. It's ironic that I went down that road of holistic health, and then coronavirus came, right? Because I developed the immune esteem and an immunity just because I felt like we needed a better tea for our immune system.
Mm-hmm.
But lo and behold, that I just thought about the irony of all of that. A tea business, and now what are people drinking every day, all day? We teeing it up, right, to keep Corona out. So I love that. It was a good niche. But right when I was feeling a little bit of desperation, I always check myself, because God always says, didn't I tell you? And I say, and I talk to myself like I'm so young, right? You say it 25 years. I'm like, that was a lot of years. But I talk to myself how I feel God talks to me. And he was like, you know what, little girl, don't I tell you to stop worrying? Don't I tell you every time? And, there's been a lot of times in my life that, an escrow check will just show up, or this will just show up in the bank. So I've never been without. And so I just put my trust. I said, I don't know what's about to happen, but I know that I have to do something. So lo and behold, I had reached out to an internet influencer, and they came up to me and they were like, hey, I want to purchase 2,700 packs of tea. And I'm like, 2,700 packs of tea? Okay. And I just knew then, okay, this is the calling. And that turned into me being able to private label for that particular person. And I end up opening the doors to private label for other people. And things just kind of fell in place. And then I started with my family. They all started businesses. And I'm like, okay, do you have your LLC? I found myself helping people do that. And then I found myself helping people pick out their products. And then my little sister also started her Poshy Pet business. So that was one of the first ones. And I started with my family. And I love that. And because I'm going to tell you something, Legacy Conference has such an impact on me that I knew I had to start living life with the purpose and with the forefront being to leave a legacy. So I said, where else can I make an impact with my family? Let's start there. And from there, just word of mouth. Now we have over 25 clients. We've helped 25 new people open their business. And this has been since March. And Private Label Queens is doing really well. We've actually hired our first operations coordinator. So not only are we helping people live their dream of business ownership, but we were also helping people get employed. I was able to hire our operations coordinator who lost her job due to coronavirus. Now she has a job. So this has been amazing. This has been amazing. And it was an amazing experience, but it was an experience that really showed me that you have to use faith over fear, and you have to trust and believe in the power of manifestation. I truthfully believe that.
Awesome. So one of the things that I would say now is this. You mentioned 2 or 3 different things. One was about the Legacy Conference, one about the impact on your family and what you decide to do. And they always say creativity is a mother of it. This whole disaster has caused you and many others to find creative ways to still stay, I wouldn't say afloat, but being necessary to make changes to survive and thrive during this time. Just because something shows up doesn't mean we should stop working or stop being fulfilled in everything. And you have found many ways to do this. Now, I see also one of your businesses is Salon Suites. What is that exactly?
So that's another business. And this is what I want to say. It's all coming full circle. Sometimes when we're given guidance, we don't quite have all the pieces to the puzzle. But I always try to do things with the purpose of helping others. I never thought in a million years that the piece to the puzzle would be helping others, but leaving their legacy and me leaving mine, right? So I say that to say I started these businesses, and when the whole legacy thing came up and I went to your conference, it made all my business decisions and all my businesses make sense. So my hat is off to you for that, because I got true alignment. I know what I'm doing. I know which way I'm supposed to go. So with the Salon Suites, that was started. Basically, I used to distribute hair extensions, and I did that for a long time. And lo and behold, I also helped with coordinating classes for hair extensions. And through that experience, I met a lot of stylists and I got to hear a lot of stories. New stylists, people that have been in the business, just, in that business, a lot of people want to be in control of their destiny. They want to have ownership, but they maybe not be business savvy, or maybe they can't afford to have a big salon and all the upkeep that comes with it, or the overhead, or maybe they just want to focus on their craft, because at the end of the day, stylists are artists. And it's kind of hard to focus on 5 and 6 different things, especially if they're not your forte. So I was like, okay, I can help bridge a gap here. I started researching about salon suites. And one thing that I found in that research is that they were, it started in Alabama. They were putting these like virtual office type things where they turned them to salon suites, and where they would have their shampoo bowl. It was like a turnkey, suite, or a turnkey room. And it would have whatever the industry that they're in. So if they're a nail techs, it would have their pedicure chair and, their station or their manicure table there. If there were masseuses or massage therapists, that it would have their massage bed. So I was like, wow. And all my students, they never wanted to leave class. They always was like, can we stay with you? Can we, work with you? So I opened a small little salon, had students working in it, and everybody just wanted to rent. And I remember my first renter, and she's still there with me today, Nina. She came and she wanted to rent a closet space in my location. And I'm like, not a closet. So I had a lot of space. And so I decided to turn that space into suites. And I started off with 7 suites. And I got to help a lot of salon professionals realize their dream of salon ownership, and they made it a reality because it's low cost and they have their own private space with their own key and door. After that, I end up wanting to expand, and we expanded, and just so happened next door was available. So I expanded into next door, and we did a whole build out. So in total, we have 22 suites now at that location. And I'm happy to say that I just signed to open my second location, which will be open hopefully by December. We're in construction now, and that's for 24 more suites. And that location is in Mall of Americas in Miami. So it's been a blessing, and I'm helping so many people realize their dream of ownership without the hassle, or, with us, they don't have to really deal with salon. They pay their weekly rent. They have their space, and we do everything for them, from licensing to the water, the electricity, if the AC break, everything is taken care of for them. And they have one weekly amount. So I love that, because I'm able to actually help people, realize their dream and be in their own space and be in control of their own destiny. So it's a win-win, and I love win-wins.
You like win-wins, huh? Okay.
Absolutely.
So the big thing for you is this. It seems like all your business models come back in circle to always be the one offering the hand of help for others. So you found a niche saying everyone needs help in some way or another. Someone needs help with, let's say, housing. You buy real estate, you're able to rent them the home or flip the house and sell it back to them. Or if there's, like, example, they come to a city that they want to spend some time in let's say, bed and breakfast, you provide that through a need. So from what I'm seeing, entrepreneurship for you has always been a big thing, that you found a niche in every area of your life to accommodate and help others. What advice would you give someone right now regarding branching out into entrepreneurship, especially now during this time of COVID-19? There are some successes, there's some failures. What should they first start doing before even saying, I'm going to open a business tomorrow? Before even launching out, what advice would you give them?
Well, sometimes, the advice that I think would be the best piece of advice is to start. And then when I say start, I don't mean just blindly going out there and, hey, let me just, get started. What I mean by that is start mentally first. Start evaluating yourself. Start figuring out what your purpose is. That's a big one for me because I can't stress it enough. And I know people hear me say it all the time. Once you know what your purpose is, you can align it with the plan. But if you don't know what it is that you want to do, you got to sit down in the mirror, do some soul searching, meditation, whatever it is that you have to do, and say, what is it that I want? At the end of the day, what is it that I want? And a lot of us like to make blanket statements like, I want money, I want wealth, I want fame. And that's true. Okay, great. You want money. But there has to be something deeper that you want. There has to be something deeper. Money is just a consequence to an action. So you work, you get money. It's real simple. So you got to know what exactly is it that you want. Remember, money isn't a want. It's a want, but it's not a want in the sense of it's a consequence to an action that you do. So I always like to, think about life in a deeper way and try to figure out at the end of the day, if I close my eyes tomorrow, what is it that I would have wanted to accomplish, right? And so that would be my first thing that I would tell anyone that's wanting to get into business. Figure out what it is. What's your purpose? Because once you know what your purpose is, that's going to fuel your passion. Because a lot of us, what we do is we do what our parents want us to do. We take jobs in schools and we do all these things based on other people. And I was one of those people. I wanted to please, hey, I want to, have this, a lot of us, sometimes when I choose, we want this big fancy degree, which I'm not against school. If that's your drive and that's what accomplishments you want, then you do that. But a lot of us are in jobs and doing things that we don't like, and so I found myself in a corporate environment and I didn't like it. It didn't make me feel good. And so if you're doing anything right now that makes you not feel good, don't start doing things to make money. Start doing what makes you feel good, and the money is going to come. And so that's the best advice that I can give someone. And don't start second guessing yourself. Like, really take a deep dive in the mirror and say, this is what I want. Figure it out, write it down, put a plan together. I'm big on vision boards. Anything you're writing, hey, it's going to be accomplished, right? So write it down and then pray about it and start. A lot of us, we procrastinate. We say we want certain things and we don't do what it takes to even start because we psych ourselves out. You can do it. You just have to start and know what you're doing. That's all. So purpose, plan, and everything else will align. You're on mute.
So purpose, plan, and everything else will align.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the two P's with A. Okay, perfect. Because if you have those two things added together. Now, one thing one person told me also is you must have passion for what you do.
Absolutely.
You can't, as you mentioned, you can't just do something because you know what, my friend does real estate or my friend does this. Let me try that because she makes good money. But then when they do it, it becomes like a job, which they hate. Now, many people every morning to a job that they just don't like. They wake up to something that they just can't seem to get off their shoulder, and it's like a heavy weight to them. So what is your greatest passion, Kemiana? What makes you tick? What makes you get up in the morning just ready to go, I got this, let's go? Because I see sometimes you're online at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Team no sleep. Sometimes it's team no sleep, depending on what I have got going on. But you know what fuels me? I think it's helping people. I think it's because I know that, somebody's livelihood is dependent upon me. And I think that's what fuels me the most. I also think having peace is a big one for me. And that's what fuels me. Because if I feel chaotic, I don't do well, So when I could wake up and I'm at peace with what I'm doing, which is where I am, that's the place I'm at in my life. And so and I'm passionate, I have a passion for what I'm doing. I think that in itself fuels me. And my passion is, to give back and to help people and to see how I can help people progress. And when I see progression and I see that what I, even as small as it may be, what I contribute is contributing to their progression, it makes me so elated. Like I get goosebumps thinking about how I can impact the next person. So that's definitely, I think, what fuels me the most.
Awesome, awesome. So, from what I've gathered with this one now, you are a person that's driven for success, driven to make an impact, driven to dynamically change not only your family tree, but everyone else around you. Whoever you impact or be around, I should say, you want to make an impact in their lives to transform their lives for better. You want to find a way that if they need this, you don't want to give them the fish. You want to show them how to fish and give them the pole to get the fish and get the hooks and everything and say, okay, let me teach you. When I first met you last year, 2019, at a legacy conference, I was introduced to you by Miss Ola, one
Yeah,
of the Warriors.
Ola.
And she was on the stage and she told me, there's my mentor. I say, huh? That's my mentor that I've been talking about that took a chance on me when I was so young in the hair industry
Absolutely.
and told me I could do anything I put my mind to. I said, really?
Absolutely.
And you stood up and said, no, I don't want the fame. It's all on her right now. Let her get it. And that showed me that even in the time of your in the time of your giving and sharing, you don't want to be in the forefront, just be in the back from pushing someone else forward because you know where you've walked and you want to help others get to the exact same spot and push them forward. And for that, I'm very, very honored to know you. And ever since that conference, what has the conference done for you overall? What did you learn from the conference? And why
Oh
should
my
someone even attend the conference this year?
The conference was so invaluable. You would think that, a lot of people look at me or they'll look at, my life and think, oh, she just has it all together and, everything is on the outside it's successful. And I like those accolades, and yes, I've worked hard to get where I'm at, but just not having the full purpose, the complete purpose of why you're doing something. I think that's what brought it full circle for me with the Legacy Conference. What I understood leaving there, I moved differently, I walked differently, I talked differently. Everything just changed for me. And that's why that old saying that, you're never too old to learn, you have to always be humble. So one thing that I do pride myself in is that I try to stay humble. I actually pray for humility because I never want to get to the point where the success overrides the humility. And so one thing I can tell you is the Legacy Conference humbled me. It taught me, no, baby girl, you might have it together, but it's not all the way together. And it taught me what areas in my life I was lacking and what areas in my life I needed to focus on. So when I attended there and what I left there with, I was in like it just what I can say is it ignited me. It put a like as if someone had just put a bomb inside and I just, I finally get it. So I love what you're doing. I love the Legacy Conference, all the speakers. It just let me know, hey, you're on the right path, but you got to change some things up. Because before, I worked, and I can tell you this, it caused me to figure out I found out the 4 P's with the Legacy Conference too, and how I was going to live my life going forward. And so I said, here's what I'm going to do. Prayer, peace, positivity, and prosperity.
Say it again.
Prayer, peace, positivity, and prosperity. And when I tell you that money is a consequence to an action, trust what I'm saying. Legacy Conference put money in perspective for me, because we could be out here chasing all the dollars. And yes, if you go chase after something, you will get it. That's not what I'm saying. It is a consequence to the action. If you do hard work, you're going to get paid. That's just how it works, but it doesn't mean that you're working smart. So one thing I can tell you is, leaving the Legacy Conference, I started to move differently because I started to work differently and I started to work smarter. And what I mean by that is not putting so much emphasis in the prosperity part. And you notice when I tell you the 4 P's, I'm telling it to you in an order. And that order has significance. It's prayer, because without prayer, you know what prayer does for you? And I'm going to tell you, some people call it prayer, some people call it meditation. When I say prayer, I also mean meditation. I mean incessant prayer. I take minutes a day. It could be 10 minutes a day, and just go into deep thought, And so we learned that from Jesus. He had to go in the wilderness and meditate. So why? Because when you meditate and you ever just sit still with yourself, like, do it with me for a second. Just sit, just for still. See, when you sit still, what happens is you get calm, right? So if you're feeling antsy or whatever, you just need to sit still and get into deep thought. You get calm. After you get that calmness, guess what that's called? It's called peace. It's called peace. Now, how have you ever seen a peaceful person in a negative way? No, they're not wanting to snap off. They're not wanting to do anything. When you see people at peace, you could walk the old people. They sitting on that porch, you're like, oh, he's so peaceful. Because when you're at peace, there is no negativity around you. It's very hard for your vibrations to go low when you're at peace. So now my vibrations are high and I could be positive. But guess what happens when I'm positive? I affect everybody around me, because now everybody's happy because I'm positive. I'm happy because I'm positive. And then prosperity, that's not something you even have to chase, because it's going to happen automatically. It's the consequence that I keep talking about to an action. Prosperity, which means money, which means wealth, which means happiness, all of those things, that's prosperity. That's the consequence to those actions. And that's why I said you could chase money, because I did it backwards before. I would chase the prosperity all the time. I was chasing prosperity. And yes, I did make money, no problem. But I didn't have peace. I was mad, not, getting angry over little things. My anxiety was high and I wasn't praying enough. So I had to reverse how I did it. And that's what Legacy Conference taught me. I had to sit and figure out, okay, how am I going to move now? I can't just keep doing the same thing. And then if I'm trying to impact people and leave a legacy, is this the person that they need to follow? This high anxiety, no peace, but she got money. That don't make sense to me, right? So I had to figure out, if I'm going to impact someone, my vibrations have to be high. My vibrations have to be in a place of aligning properly. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something about alignment. You can't align yourself properly with where you need to go if your attitude and everything isn't in full focus, right? Because the way alignment works is, if you let me see how I can explain this, because it's real deep how I think about it. God might have something for you, right? Or the universe, or whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. It might be there for you. But because either you're not aligned properly to receive it, you don't have the right attitude or the right people around you, you're not ready to receive it. And he's not going to align you with this next person, because you might be a disaster for that person. You're not ready to properly be on that next level with that person. So that's how alignment works. So before we can say, oh, we want this, that, and the other, we got to get ourselves together. It's way deeper than just going out making money. Anybody could go and get a loan and buy a house and buy another one and buy another one and buy another one. But when true alignment happens, you don't even have to think about it. The house gonna come in, they're gonna come sit on your porch and have a conversation with you and give you a house. And that's what's been happening to me. I haven't even been looking for properties and they just showing up. Just showing up. Honestly, I haven't even been looking for clients and they show up. They show up because God is going to let you when you start doing things the right way and positioning yourself. And so people might say, well, how you know the 4 P's work? Because the prosperity is happening and I ain't even got to work for it. I don't have to be stressed out and anxiety and all this contract gonna fall through and what's gonna happen. I just say, okay, it's about to happen. Even when the coronavirus happened and all the income stopped, I was talking to Ann and she was like, oh my God, so what we're gonna do now? I say nothing. It's gonna all work out. And the phone rang. And I can be confident, and I don't want to confuse the confidence with being not humble, because I'm very humble. But the blessings that you are bestowed and how God comes through when you're properly aligned, you're going to already know. And so I knew from the Legacy Conference, I say all this to say my alignment, my proper alignment started at that Legacy Conference, and that's on God. I promise you that. And that's why I push it so much. I'm not one to be sitting here, pushing other people and their agendas and what they have going on. But yours, Mr. Glenn, I will, because I know how it changed me. And it's now everything is flowing, and it's flowing the way it's supposed to be. I'm meeting all kinds of people. People are just dropping out the sky to do business. People, I'm not even, it's to the point, even with private label queens, like, I'm like, okay, I have to put people on, okay, we can't take your business until, and I have people throwing the business at me. So you have to be put in, you have to align yourself to be able to, receive the blessings too, but it starts with you. And so a lot of times we like to sit there and say, oh, well, things not happening the way it's supposed to be. Things don't, it's not happening for me. I just have bad luck. No, you don't. You have to go align properly. Figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And when you're doing what you're called to do, and you sit there, and you have to be in patience too. You have to have patience. But I tell you,
I need that.
That alignment, nobody can take it from you once you align properly. That I promise.
That's one of the things I'm learning right now too, during this whole COVID-19. I think I see some people actually posting different things on here, and and some of the things that I just look back and say to myself is, this pandemic, I think it affected the whole world to really show us that we got to depend not on ourselves but on a higher source, depend on God, because it shook up our foundations of money, prosperity in terms of our jobs, everything that we held on tight to, and forgot about the source of it all. And I really look back now and think that sometimes we need to unplug and reconnect back to the source. As you said, reset, have that time of meditation, that time of prayer, the 4 P's to get back on synchronization back to God. And with there, it trickles down to everything. You're saying that you're not even looking for clients. I know for a fact, because I have clients that work with you myself, and they're just coming straight up. I need help. Need help. You don't have to advertise. You don't have to run people down. They just come to you because you've already put yourself in a position where you say, your heart is at line. Say, God, I'm waiting for you to bring what you need to bring. The clients you bring to me or the people you bring to me are meant to be for me, because you've already positioned them and me to connect. You don't have to worry, because I think that worry causes people to move out of timing, out of sequence, out of everything. And you said the key word is alignment. If we're misaligned, like a car, badly aligned, things get worn off quickly, and we need to get back in that place. So now I'm happy to hear someone who's an entrepreneur catch that place. I think we may have lost our speaker right there. We'll get it back shortly. And there she is.
Sorry, I'm not sure what happened. Okay, I'm back.
That's quite fine. At least you're back. That's the most important thing. We can't
Yeah.
lose the crown jewel right now. So, we have two other questions that people tend to ask a lot. And since you are a serial entrepreneur who I call seasoned in this thing, what are some of the, okay, when did you, I know you were not always in the entrepreneurial vein because you used to work for a company down here in South Florida. And I heard your little testimony joke in one of your lies that said, I moved down here after my divorce and I didn't know, all I knew is I wanted to live on the beach.
Right.
I don't care what beach. And you had in your mental state of mind that I want to live on a beach. I want my house to be covered around with water. I want this. I want a valet. I want this. And you didn't have no money.
None.
Your credit was so low that
419.
It was bad. And you mentioned to me that you had to vibrate. Go ahead.
Huh? No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And you mentioned you had to find yourself in vibrations of positivity to raise up yourself because you had belief, faith, and action. You had a job, but you had those three things, and you walked up in that building with boldness, like a relentless person, as this year's student. And you said, "Listen here, I don't." In the back of your mind, thinking, "I ain't got no money, but how much is this place in here? You got anything for rent?" And all of a sudden, the guy opens his mouth and says, "Actually, you know what, lady? There's actually a guy looking to rent his place." And when you went to the whole storyline, it just showed that you walked it out in faith to get in there. But how did you transition from that corporate type major job into entrepreneurship? Was it easy transition? Was it shaky? And what were some of the lessons you learned from this whole transition? And I know in business there's failures and successes, and then you also gotta know when to quit and when to walk away.
Yes.
When to fold and when to pack up your bags and move on. So what advice would you give someone in transitioning from, I was working for a corporate company, I got laid off, now I think I might be doing entrepreneurship. What advice would you give someone from corporate into entrepreneurship transition? What advice would you give them?
The first thing is you have to know yourself, and it does. What I can say is I want to talk to people who know themselves and know that entrepreneurism is the route for them. And then those people that don't, meaning, not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. Some people just, they can work a job and they maybe just need to have ownership, of their homes and ownership of, I don't know, a business or a side hustle, and nothing is wrong with that. There is no rules to this game. So I need people to understand that, because sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves based on our family, based on, I don't know, sometimes we're in competition with people that don't even exist, or we're in competition with our friends and the next person. So first of all, look in the mirror, do some soul searching and figure out what it is that you really want. If what you want is time and freedom, you figure out the best way to do that. And some of that might be still working a job. And, I don't down jobs, because we need jobs to, I hire people. So, I would say find out. It's not for everyone. But when you know what you want, then you could kind of guide yourself into that, into that way. So one thing from me is, I think from a little child, my mother always told me I had a mind of my own. She knew I probably wouldn't be working for someone. She felt that way. And they always, I guess, try to, one thing I tell you about my parents is they always gave me freedom. So I knew when I was a little kid, I wanted a snowball stand. They let me got one, and they, I wanted to travel the world. When I graduated from high school, they let me did that. I wanted to be in an exchange student program. They let me did that. So I do appreciate them for that, because they always gave me the freedom to express and do what I wanted to do. And I like that. One thing that motivated me, though, I can tell you, is my parents' experiences. I watched my father and my mother work very hard, and they were middle class. We were a middle class family, and they worked very hard to give us everything that we could possibly want. But I watched a job. My mother gave 30 years of her life to a job, and it was a political situation that happened, and she got a new boss, and he just came through, and I guess they didn't meet eye to eye, and he let her go when she was 5 years shy of retirement. And I watched that, and I watched her having to struggle and losing a lot, and trying to keep her house, just stuff. And I'm sitting there like, wow, how can someone be in control of your life and it's all taken away because they didn't like you or because y'all just had a bad vibe? Like, how can 30 years go down the drain? And so my thing is, I never wanted to be in that position. So even when I had a job, I did it as always a means to accomplish what I was trying to get. So it was never with the mentality of being, the best corporate American person. So that's one thing. My mentality was never that. I just knew I had to work to get financially stable. So that was always my mentality going in from young. And I give it to my parents because my father always told me, he said, you want to be self-sufficient. I don't want you to ever depend on anybody, because if I close my eyes, I want to know you can make it. And, so they let me did certain things. I lived in Mexico for 4 years right after high school. I was an English teacher. I learned Spanish. So, I mean, I give all my credits to them as well. Okay, so then I get into corporate America with H&R Block, and I work for them. And the thing that was, like you say, the straw, how it is, the straw that broke the camel's back. Yes, for me was when I did a lot to accomplish my goals, and they gave me a 1% raise because my boss had an issue. And then they end up firing that boss, and I got a new boss. And then, so I'm like, wait a minute. So now you control my money too? And I worked so hard because you remember, with H&R Block, you get a big salary, but you also get bonuses. So in order for you work for those bonuses, because those bonuses for me was like $25,000 to $30,000, profit sharing bonuses. So at the end, I didn't just work for $80,000 salary. I worked for those bonuses so I would have enough nest egg and for my 401k. So when you mess all that up and, what I worked hard for, so then I'm like, okay, so now you're controlling my money. That don't work for me. I don't want nobody. I barely like to, I use the banks, but I don't want nobody controlling my money. So that put a bad taste in my mouth. And I knew then I had to have an exit strategy. So that was year 2. And I stayed with them 6 years, but trust and believe the whole time I was planning. Year 4, I opened with Remy Hair Warehouse Beauty Supply. And that's how I met Ola. And so Ola would manage the beauty supply while, I still worked my job. And then almost year 6, I went to India. Ola and I actually went to India, and I made so much money year 5 with H&R Block and with the beauty supply that I volunteered. They were doing what do you call severance packages? I call HR and say, hey, can I be in a severance? And I took a severance package, and that was all she wrote. And that's when my entrepreneur, I set myself up, but I didn't just leave a job without having a back. I told you, it's always what I told you, plan B, right? So always have that backup plan and that card in your pocket.
A while ago, you said have and plan an exit strategy.
Yes.
Explain what that is so people can have a firm understanding. It doesn't mean just one day wake up out to do, wash their hair and say, I'm done. I'm going to exit tomorrow next week.
I had took trips to India. I had a whole business open when I left, and I had made a sufficient amount of money. So one thing I could tell people is try, when you're doing any job, like just say, even if you have a side hustle, try to make your goal to be making your salary in your side hustle. And that's when you're kind of ready to leave. That's what I mean by exit strategy. You need to make enough money, or at least have a plan of having enough to sustain you when you're wanting to go on your own. Because it's rough out there as an entrepreneur. When all you have to depend on is you and not a check, that's a transition. So make sure you have at least your salary or something. And if you have a high salary, for me, I was making $80,000, but in my mind, I didn't need that to live off. I was by myself. I was single at that time. So for me, I just needed $50,000 to be happy. So I knew what I needed. You understand? So I made sure I had those finances in place. If you could live off of $30,000, go do it. Because guess what? You'll be at $80,000 in no time. There's nothing holding you back. But you have to step out on faith and live on minimal. So you don't have to go and make a big. If you're making a big 80,000, learn to live with less. Learn to live with less, and that's what I did. I downsized all my bills. I paid everything off, and I was able to leave. And then I took a severance package too. So I worked it out with my job to where they actually paid me almost a year's salary to leave. So that worked out for me too. And then it was still considered a what do you call it? A layoff. So I still qualified for unemployment. So they still was able to give me my unemployment. I ended up getting my severance and almost a year of, so all of that worked out for me in that way. But like I said, how did that happen like that? Because you have to have your plan, and then you have to start working in alignment with that plan. Just like I was telling you when you said I went and live on the beach. It's all about properly aligning and knowing what the purpose is, and the two have to match. And every time something good happened for me, it was because those two things matched. And before the Legacy Conference, I can tell you I didn't understand that, but that brought me clarity. That's what the Legacy Conference did for me. It brought me clarity.
So okay. So we heard, okay. So exit strategy is a plan that we have to have, not just 1 day, 2 days forehand. We got a plan to make sure we start decreasing our bills. We got to make sure we have money set aside for our salary that you've been working, your plan A. As Natalie said, always have a plan B before you let go of plan A. It's a good point, Natalie.
Exactly.
So you've been saving up, you prepared, you made sure you said, you made sure you had your plan B, your own business was starting to generate enough income that it could either replace your existing salary or come pretty close to maintaining you with everything you currently need to be maintained with, like your bills and everything. Exactly. Then wait until either you're going to quit, or wait till you, as you said, hey, I heard you having layoffs. Can you add my name to that layoff list? No, exactly. That was a strategic manner because they offered you an exit strategy through, payoff. So that's extra cash in your pocket to go off with to help build your dreams. And then I heard someone told me this good quote. They said that your plan A, your career corporate job, supposed to be funding your dreams.
Absolutely.
Don't just think of it as a job to pay your bills. Start funding your dreams to make sure when you're led to leave the nest of corporate America and jump into entrepreneurship, you have everything that you need to do so. So
yep, and feedback is a gift. Let me tell you, it's funny you say that because it should be funding your dream, and it also should be funding you mentally. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that, because my boss was just really like a lot to deal with towards the last year I was there. This was a new boss, and it was just too much. And one day I was like so angry, and I'm like, why are you angry? Because use what he's telling you as your strategy, because when you get on your own, there's nobody there to say, hey, you're messing up. Hey, this is how you're supposed to do it. So stop using what he's telling you as a attack on you and start utilizing what he's telling you as feedback. And feedback is a gift. So I started taking what he was telling me and applying it in my business because I already knew I was doing my job correctly. So I was like, let me take this feedback, what he's saying about me, not as a personal attack, but let me take it and have some open mind and take it as a feedback. And that really changed how I moved towards the end, because then I became unbothered. That way your job don't stress you out. So if they say, hey, you know, you need to be here on time, and you know, one of his big things was if you're there 5 minutes before, that's considered late. So guess what? I made sure if I had a client meeting, if you know, whatever I had, I took that as feedback, as a gift, because I made sure I was there 10 minutes or 30 minutes before. So it wasn't all bad what he was saying when I started um, understanding it differently and receiving it from him differently. So not only do you use it to fund your dream, you use it to fund you mentally. Whatever they don't like about you, whatever they saying, use it as a gift for your business.
Kamiana, that's a good nugget right there.
They paid to make me better. Thank you.
They paid me to make me better, because a lot of us go to our jobs and we think that our bosses on our backs like slave drivers and they just nagging.
Exactly.
But sometimes what they're saying, they may be seeing something that we need to change for ourselves, that we may have a bad attitude. We may have a sloppy way of dressing or something. So what they're doing, they're preparing us for our future clients.
Absolutely. That's how I started seeing it. And then it made me not be mad all the time. And then I wasn't mad with them all the time. I was like, you know, and now thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I want to thank him on this call so much. I appreciate you. I do.
Now that is classic. Cheers. The story behind, I heard that exact same phrasing with Steve Harvey. When he was young in school, the story was this: everyone in class had to write down what they want to become when they're grown up. And he said, "I want to be in TV," but he had a major stuttering problem.
Oh yeah,
bad. Mm-hmm. So what happened was that he decided. She called up the class and embarrassed her in front of the class. Says, "You can't be on TV. You stutter. You can't even speak." And she tore him down to nothing in the class. He came back and said on the show, "Look who I am today. I'm on TV. Thank you for telling me that I couldn't do it, because now when you told me I couldn't do it, it made me have the fire and the fuel to even prove you wrong." And every single year, Christmas, he sends her a TV to remind her, "I'm on TV."
Yes. You know what was so beautiful? Year,
he sends a TV saying, "See, I'm on TV."
I love it. And I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand Steve Harvey when he says that, because you know what I was doing? Let me tell you, right before I took the severance, this was in September, because my mother had went through. That's why I will tell you this: every opportunity that comes your way, you have to keep your eyes open. That's another thing. So things that we think might be something that's that happens that might seemingly be bad, you got to be open to the positivity out of a situation. So my mom was diagnosed with stage 2, I think it was stage 2 cancer in the colon. And so I went through a lot with that as well, because, you know, going through that, and my boss was on my back, like I was telling you, and I'll never forget. So she had surgery in September. So, you know, I took a FMLA to go for her surgery in Texas. And so I was off. I told him I had to be off with her a whole month. So, you know, me and her was sitting there, and she didn't have to take chemo or nothing. So my mom recovered quickly, but she still stayed in Texas, because that's where doctors were, and she tried to stay there about 3 months. I had family that was there. So this was September of 2011. I'll never forget. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, so I stayed there with her for almost a month. And I was telling her my dreams, and, you know, we were talking through it. And she was like, you know what, I'm fine. She said, you know, they're going to give you FMLA however long you want. I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, you should take it. I said, okay. And she said, you know what, baby, I'm okay. And mama going to be okay. I ain't going nowhere. I said, yeah, but I don't want, you know, I just want to be here for you. And my cousins were there. She's like, no, you know what you need to do? Go start your business. Go do what you need to do for your business. I said, okay. And I got on a plane and went to India because that's where my business was. And she knew that I had a trip planned, and then this cancer thing happened. So she was like, go ahead and do it. So while I was able to, what was going to be a week trip end up being a whole month trip because I had a lot to do in India. I didn't know India. And I went away for a month, and I would check in on her. We talked every day and whatever. But I was so happy. And guess what was happening? Because I was on FMLA, I'm sitting in India, making my business plans, getting my hair, because I started the hair salon, the hair beauty supply. So I'm, making deals and going right around all of India. And so then my boss had called and said, I know you're out on FMLA. He sent an email, but we still have to do your end of year review. So like my, what do you call that? It's been out of work so long. What do you call that? Evaluation.
Yes. I know.
So I said, okay, no problem. So he calls, and you know how the phone sound like you out of country? He's like, oh, it kind of sounds like you're out of country. I said, well, I'm on FMLA. How can I help you? And so I was sitting there doing my business plan in India, getting my evaluation for a job. I knew I was going to leave eventually, but the severance hadn't even presented itself at that point. So I'm saying this: if I'm telling you this story and you look at how things lined up and happened, you see that at that time my mother had the cancer. I could have stayed there and been like, oh, woe is me. I can't start a business because, and my mother said she was fine. I believed her. If she needed me, I was going to be right on a plane right back. But I took that plane and went on a whole month. And what was seemingly not a blessing was a blessing, because I'm able, and the irony of it all is I'm sitting there on the phone in India doing evaluation for a job I didn't know would present itself for me to leave. You see what I'm saying? You see how God fixed stuff for you? But you have to know what opportunities present itself.
Yes.
And you got to stay positive, because if you have to look at the good side of things. You can't, most people would have said, well, my business, I'm not starting because, or I'm delayed because, this.
So here's a question, because you talked about some struggles and things right there. How do you go through a business failure? And there's sometimes I've heard this from a few entrepreneurs, especially a few millionaires that talk about it. They say that it's good to fail, but fail forward. Don't fail back. If you fall backward, look up, because you can get back up again. Per Les Brown.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you start being successful, they tell me don't be so quick to rush and blow up too soon, because your success can also cause your downfall. So what experience have you had? Okay, well, how have you faced your failures in business, and what lessons did you learn from your failures? And did you ever have to walk away from a business concept because it was not working or not good for you in failing?
My best advice is slow and steady. That's what I've learned from even my failures. I've learned, and yes, I've had failures. Trust and believe. I've almost lost my business twice. It wasn't fun. And I don't do well with the unknown. That's why me stepping out on faith and the way I talk about purpose and all this stuff, God has shown me that I don't need to know everything. The same way that I was sitting in India, which I thought I would have had to cancel that trip because of my mom. God showed me, no, you just don't need to know everything. And the same way that I was planning my business and I just kept going. And the next month, May, that following May, they offered me the severance that I volunteered for. God was showing me, you don't know. I didn't even know that severance would have even been possible, but I didn't stop. And so that's the one thing I can tell you. I've always kept going. I never allowed myself to stop, even when the failure happened. And so in 2013, I had a partnership and that went south, and I ended up losing like that's how the suites were born, actually, because, not without getting into it too much, the partnership just went south. And so I found myself in a place with nothing, and all of my merchandise a big part of it was like $45,000 gone. And so I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I'm going to have to shut down. Even my mom told me, she's like, girl, you ain't got to worry about it. Just close it down and get them people back they built in it. Just, just come on. If you got to come live with mama, that's good. That's how mothers are and fathers or whatever. They want to rescue you. And I'm like, no, I'm not a quitter. And I remember just sitting at my desk and I'm in a place and I was alone. And because remember, the partnership's over and the partner had everything that the partner that was a part of the business, all of the people that worked for us was with that partner. So the partner went away and all the people went away too. And so I'm sitting there in an empty building with nothing and a bunch of my merchandise just gone. So I remember sitting at my desk and I was crying and I was like, God, you got to show me a way or something. I'm not a quitter, but I think this is the end for me, and what am I going to do? Am I going to just look for another job or what can I possibly do? And I remember listening to a song on the radio. Remember that Aaliyah song that say, if you can't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. I remember hearing that song. It just was on because, I would play the radio in my office and that song came on. I'm like, what? Why is that song on? So I dried my eyes and at that time I was like, do I start looking for a job or what? And I remember opening the computer and I said, I'm not going to look for a job. I'm going to try to sell these, all the merchandise, the hair that I did have. And so I just, started putting my little ads and, doing that. And the doorbell rang. Because I had a bell on a security bell on the building. So I'm like, oh, who's that? I walked to the thing. So the lady didn't speak English and she was from Venezuela. She was about to take a flight back. And she said, is this a hair company? I saw the sign. I said, yes. How can I help you? She says, oh, I want to buy some hair. I said, okay, what do you want? I'm thinking, 2 packs of hair. That lady brought $20,000 worth of hair. Wired me the money. You understand what I'm telling you? So that $20,000, I was already behind because remember, with the partner and stuff, I was already behind on my rent and I knew I had to make at least $10,000, to make the rent, everything that all the bills we were behind, everything. So I had 20 of the 10, right? So then right after she came, another lady come in. And she's like Lil Wayne and some other rappers were coming and she was doing hair, for the strip club. And I'm like, well, I ain't going to no strip club, but where you live at? So I remember getting hair in my trunk and I drove down to this lady's house. And then she kept saying, because the place was like next door to her house. And so she kept saying, oh, can you bring me 2 more? Can you bring me 2 more? And I rode that whole night back and forth to Fort Lauderdale. I'll never forget selling hair out of my trunk. And I was calling my mama. It was 4:00 in the morning. I said, y'all swear I'm selling drugs out here. She's like, why are you out at 4:00 in the morning? I say, just talk to me because I'm actually delivering some hair. So I did that and I just would not give up. And then right after that was when I decided I was sitting at my desk and I called my contractor, a guy I had did business with. And I told him the situation. And I said, hey, because the money I had made, remember, I paid all the bills. So I'm still having zero in the bank. I'm still negative, even with all of that money, because I was so behind. So I remember talking to him and his name was Eduardo. I said, I need to build out some suites, but I just want you to do the furniture in here. How much will it charge? Will you charge me? He said, I'm going to help you out. He told me $8,000. I said, that's not helping me out. It's a good price, but how am I going to get $8,000? So I called one of my friends and I said, I'm in trouble. And people know it takes a lot for me to ask people for money. Mm-hmm. I'm not that person. Like, even I'm tearing up just thinking about it because I don't like asking. Like, if I call you and ask you for money, it takes like my pride, like everything out of me, like everything. And my friend did not make me feel a certain way. She said, where do I deposit it? I say, and I will give it back to you. So because the theft had happened with the partner, I was able to get insurance, money. But then I learned I couldn't get the full 45,000 because I had. That's another thing. You need to watch your policy. I had a $10,000 sublimit. So even though $45,000 was stolen, I had only 10,000 that I could get. So now I'm like, okay, I owe this man 8,000. You know what I mean? But he told me all I had to do was pay the 4. So my friend gave me the 4, and when I got the reimbursement of the 10,000, I gave her back, her 4,000, and I gave the guy his money. So therefore, the suites were. But then guess what I did, Glenn? I started pre-leasing. The suites weren't done. Nothing was done, but I got on the internet with the little technology that I know, and I created a whole brochure of how the suites are gonna look. And I started soliciting, and people started coming and paying deposits. Now I got 7 suites that I have to rent. Okay, 7 suites. Now you do the math, $1,000 each for the deposit. I've made $7,000, and I used that money to keep the rent on the building. And so that's how I came out of that failure. But it was a failure, and it was a hard time for me. I had to put my pride aside. I had to ask people for money. It was just a lot. But all of that made me who I am today, and it made me move differently too. With the future, like your contracts need to be right. I bet you now, any kind of contracts I have, you don't have to ask me twice. I have lawyers on my staff, and I pay because I pay, when I need to, and I pay for certain things that I didn't before. My insurance, I have on point. You know what I mean? Because once you go through these mistakes, and that's the advice I can give, once you go through certain mistakes, you got to make sure you don't keep repeating. So you use your failures as a lesson. They're not fail. They say failure is success turned inside out. So we don't know of a success until a failure happens.
Exactly.
So I failed at a lot of things, but now I'm successful at the same things because I was able to learn those lessons.
So as we start winding down, COVID-19 caused a lot of crisis in this world. Any words of advice or motivation for people, especially right now, trying to figure out their next steps in as an entrepreneur? Because you are like the serial entrepreneur, the master entrepreneur, the one that can look at anyone and tell them straightforward, this is what I see, this is your gift. I mean, what words of wisdom or motivation can you give them in terms of getting them off the couch into their purpose?
I feel like sometimes we're our worst sabotage, ourselves. And so stop second guessing yourself. If you see the qualities, the first thing I would tell you to do is we don't know what we possess. And if we don't know what we possess, we can't know how to use it. So the first thing is you need to start writing down your qualities. Write down all the things you love about yourself, all the things you're good at. I'm serious, like do this exercise. And then you start understanding your strengths and your skill set. Once you understand that and you write all that on paper and you look back at it, you're going to be like, wow, I didn't know I knew all this. I didn't know I would. You're going to surprise yourself. This exercise is very surprising. Once you have all that down on paper and you start seeing unique things about yourself, then you could kind of pair yourself with whatever business or whatever you're trying to do. And then you write down what that purpose of that business is going to be and what is that purpose of the business is going to be and what that business is going to do, what solutions that business is going to provide. Now you pair those two things together. So now I have a list of my strengths and everything that I bring to the table. And I have a list of a business and the solutions that I want that business to provide. You put those two things together. Once you start to put those two things together, that's when the alignment will start to happen in your purpose and what it is that you're supposed to be doing. That exercise alone, I tell you, hands down, it works. And you're going to find yourself that you know things and you're ready and capable of things that you've already psyched yourself out that you can't do, that you can. Our people as a nation, we're great and we come from greatness. And so we have to start to believe that. No matter what nobody else tell you, you can't do it, or it's maybe that's not for you. I have proven naysayers wrong my whole life. That's why I go off of what God has for me and my own intuition. That's what guides me. Now I will listen and take advice here and there, but you possess it within you. We just don't know it. And that's why they need to attend the legacy conference. That's the other thing I'm gonna tell them. And I support it 100% because if you don't know your purpose, you're gonna know what it is after you leave the legacy conference. It's gonna come all full circle for you. So definitely the legacy conference is one of the things that should be on your list for October on the 16th and 17th. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, be there on the 16th and 17th. Write that in your calendar. That's where you need to be. That's where you need to be. Nowhere else. Nowhere else in the world should you be on October 16th if you don't know what you got going on. If you having doubts and you don't know what you possess and you try to figure out what business, any doubts, October 16th, go answer all those questions and you go from there. Now, I know what you're going to do for September and the rest of August and September, but October, we got you.
So Kimiana is actually one of our panelists for the Entrepreneur Think Tank. And she is just being cut and raw and say, listen here, you want to know how to get your business started and want to know where to live in this thing? Come on over and attend the Legacy Conference. She just saying the old-fashioned way. Like grandma would say, come on, child, you need some common sense. Come on over.
Exactly. Don't tell me. And then look, the tickets are so low, like $25. Where are you going to get your life together for $25? My copay is more than that, and my therapist don't help me. So guess what? You know your copay is more than $25. You know that because the insurance. And look, I got my insurance card right here. I keep pulling it up. Look, come to the Legacy Conference, pay your $25 copay, and thank us later. And thank us later. Thank us later because we're going to help you get your life all the way together. Any doubts that you have, you won't have after the Legacy Conference. I tell you, Mr. Glenn, honey, this Legacy Conference last year, it really helped my life out. And so I can't. It got me all the way together. I'm going to tell you like that.
So what I like to I'm just gonna say thank you so much for tonight. I mean, we it's been an honor.
I got you with a chuckle, right?
Huh?
I said I got you with a chuckle, right?
Yes, because I'm just
you know the power of the Legacy Conference. And I know you on here and you're humble and stuff like that, but it's the truth. Like you really, what they getting for $25, I'm telling you, a therapist can't even help you with that, honey. Just go ahead. I wish we could take insurance, honestly, because guess what? I wish you could, because with the therapy that I got, it was the therapy, because when that lady got up and talked, the lady, what was her name? The one that
Pastor Geralda.
Yeah, the pastor got up and talked, honey. That was a whole therapy session. I was like I was laughing and in tears all at the same time. She was a powerhouse. When I tell you her story was amazing, and the panelists that you have this year, oh my God, the panelists. Some of these people cost $200 an hour just to talk to. And y'all know I don't know what kind of connections you have, Mr. Glenn, and I don't know how you got these powerful people up there, but when I tell you for $25, honey, if they're not getting their life together for $25, I don't even know what else to tell you. It's nothing more I can say. Legacy Conference, you know what? It is something more I can say. October 16th and 17th. That's what I'm going to leave you with. That's what I'm gonna leave you with. That's all I have left to say, because I've said a lot, but I ain't saying no more. But October 16th and 17th. That's what I'm gonna say. $25.
I remember when I text you one night and say, "Hey, Kemiana, someone's asking me this question. Why am I even wasting doing this whole legacy conference?" And you ready to take the earrings off and say where they at?
Yes, where they at?
Because
Can you tell me what posted songs sent me? Because I was looking on the post. I stopped everything I was doing, and then you had to put it into context for me. You know,
yes,
these earrings,
yes.
don't let it fool you. Now I'm an entrepreneur, but these, let me say.
So what can they expect from?
Oh, but
What can
yeah,
they expect
I
from?
just I hate to say, they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Listen, we making y'all drink. Like, this the water. Come get it. Don't stay thirsty for what? The knowledge is here, and we're giving it to you for almost free. It don't get free than that. It don't get more free than that.
So what
So,
can they expect from you at the Legacy Conference?
oh,
As a,
I have, honey, October 16th and 17th is going down on my part. I have a lot that I'm preparing a lot of nuggets and gems that I'm doing a special preparation for that. And I want to spit. I'm going to be showing you some numbers. That's what I want to take it back to numbers. Once you see these numbers, you're going to be appalled because I've been doing a lot of research on us as a culture, us as a people. I'm going to talk through that. And then not just us, just, it's not, I don't want to make this about race or anything like that, but just even the generation that we're in. So when I say, us, I also mean the generation that we're in and where we're going and what our future is supposed to look like. And so no matter, we're all in this together. We're all a part of the human race. We're all part of America. So what is it going to look like in 5 years? What is, what's your bank account going to look like in 5 years? What's your financial status going to be? What kind of economic legacy are you leaving? As far as the legacy conference is concerned, I'm going to talk more about the economical impact that we can make as a generation. And also for our children that's coming behind us. A lot of the legacy panelists, they're going to be talking about all different, because legacy is not just one thing. Legacy is not just leaving a house for your family. I learned that legacy is a lot of things, but what I'm going to talk about and what's very near and dear to me is about the economic impact we can have and how we can start when our child is out of the womb and leaving a legacy for them and teaching them how to leave a legacy. So I'm going to be presenting a lot of numbers and statistics. And when you leave with these statistics, you're going to be moving differently. So yeah, I can't wait to present.
I can't wait to hear them things.
I'm breaking it down by business codes, the NACIS code. What you supposed to be doing? What's your NACIS code? Y'all even know that, huh?
So what we gonna do is this. So for the entrepreneur think tank panel discussion, we even have a surprise guest, Mr. Freddie Figures. This man is you heard him, yeah. Freddie Figures is gonna be in the house, sitting next to you virtually. That is. It's a virtual conference this year because we are concerned about your well-being, your health. Because we don't want. I'm trying to live as long as possible. So I'm not going nowhere with no conference people. I want to make sure you guys are kept safe and sound. There's also going to be virtual rooms where Kemiana will have one of her own virtual rooms where you can walk up in there and she will drop some nuggets, some bombs, some stuff to enlighten you to grow up and follow your dreams. Because a lot of us, we talk about we want to do this, but we never put action, faith, and passion behind it to accomplish it. So tonight, we just want to tell Kemiana, thank you very much for coming on tonight. When I tell you she ready to pop this thing off, I call them the entrepreneur Medea. She got her pistol ready to shoot.
That's right.
So we just want to thank you, God, thank you for your support overall. You've been one of our biggest supporters, our biggest fans. And when I told you that I became a nonprofit organization for Legacy Lives Here, you went ballistic saying yes. Welcome to
Yes.
the club. So,
Yes, I love it. It is a club because you know what? October 16th, 17th, y'all need to surround yourselves with like-minded. And guess what? It don't get more like-minded than this. We will help you change up your mind, change up your circle, and you could be a part of our legacy circle because we, and then what they don't understand is we don't discriminate. You could come on into the circle, and but this an invitation. It's an invitation. You always say, "Oh, I need to change it up. I need to, change my circle." I see that a lot on people leaving. They put up memes and they're posting about, you got to watch who you're around. Well, we're giving you powerhouses. You want to know what it's like to be with around in the presence of successful people, of like-minded people, of people that got things going on. You want to stop doing what you've been doing and start moving differently. This is the conference for you, October 16th and 17th. Even if you don't know how to move, we're gonna teach you that too. We're for everybody. So $25, y'all better go cash out.
What a lot of people don't even know is this: we might just be popping out earlier than the 16th by offering
Really?
1 or 2 days of just free content, but not too much, because
Yeah.
just a little taste of what is to come. And we are definitely going to be pulling some natural skills from different people to come in and do some talks, do some discussion. We're planning a panel discussion or impromptu panel discussion with a bunch of gentlemen talking about
Oh wow.
the state of, I don't want to say it's a racial thing, but the state of black finances, black money.
Oh, absolutely.
Black
It's a
money is
problem.
on
We got to
attack.
solve it.
So we definitely got to talk about different things in our community. This conference is, I want to say, this conference is not a black conference. It is not a church conference. It is just a simple conference for all nations, all tongues. Look at here. I'm from the Caribbean. Kemiana, she's from America, but she can speak Spanish. So that tells you for
That's
all
right.
nations and tongues. I can speak patois. So
Hola.
therefore, it's for all nations
Sakpase.
and tongues. All nations and tongues are
That's
welcome.
right.
It's not anything exclusive. You're welcome.
It's the legacy conference. If you want better, you want to do better, you want to share better, we're here. We're sharing better. And it's the legacy conference. That's what it is, October 16th and 17th. I want to see everybody do better. Like, you have no idea. And I don't know what other way. I really don't. I don't know what other way, because a lot of people won't move because they say it's money. A lot of people won't move because they say, oh, they've been counted out and they're down on their luck. And, a lot of them say, oh, especially in our people, some of them say, the white man had me down. And whatever it is that you feel, this will help put things in perspective for you. And it doesn't get better than $25. I don't know how else. Nobody's going to have you down. You can only go up from the Legacy Conference. And I'm living proof of that. Nobody's going to be negative. You're going to walk away with so many gems and so many nuggets. I don't know how else to bring it to you other than almost free. Because at the end of the day, we still got to keep Mr. Glenn and being able to put these things on, and those things cost money. But for him to even bring this to you for a $25, I can't even get over that part. And I'm just glad, like, I have to be a part of this because it's the cost is so low for what you get. Like, I've paid $10,000+ for trainings. And I can tell you from paying that and going here, hands down, you're getting that plus some. It doesn't get better than that. So please, if you don't do anything else for yourself, not for me, not for your mother, father, husband, wife, for you. This is the one time to do something for you, something to make you better, something to put things for, and for your children if you have kids. One time for you. Do this on October 16th and 17th. I tell you, don't get better than this. Legacy Conference 2020.
And to be relentless. During this time, we gotta be relentless. So I want to thank everyone for taking part tonight. We want to thank our guest speaker, entrepreneur think tank panelist. Man, this lady gonna rock the house. She already shaking up right now. Kemiana Jones Bay. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. It's been my pleasure.
Peace, everybody.